Hello students, welcome to the new lecture, and in this lecture we are going to discuss with desert ecosystem and remaining topics of this. Okay, first of all, what is meant by desert ecosystem? Desert ecosystem means in the desert there are different types of organisms are there and they are going to interact with non-living things, that is known as desert ecosystem. If you compare total land, okay, total around 17% of the land is occupied by the desert. Okay, out of total 100%, 17% of the land is occupied by the desert and is having the 23 mm of the rainfall per year. Okay, so rainfall is measured in terms of how much in a cup. It is considered as a cup. Okay, so in the cup how much rain is filling, how many raindrops are filling, and what is the quantity and what is the level of the water, that is measured in terms of mm means millimeters. So here if you see, the rainfall is there in the desert and that rainfall amount is 23 mm per year, not one day or 1 month, per year. Okay, per year we can see such amount of rainfall. So the organisms of desert ecosystem is varied so much. Varied means there is so much variations, so much changes in the organisms are there. So the question is why they have so much amount of variations. The reason is they are going to adapt. They have to adapt to the such kind of environment. So to adapt to such kind of environment, they should have such kind of variations. Okay. So next, desert ecosystem has a producers, consumers, and decomposers. These all are the things that is present in the desert. Desert is if you say the ecosystem word, the word ecosystem is used, it indicates that it is going to have all kind of aspects. Those are producers should be there, like green plants, grass, etc. Photosynthetic organisms. Next, consumers should be there. Next, decomposers should be there. Then only you can say that it is an ecosystem. Okay. So along with non-living things, these are nothing but desert ecosystem. Okay, we will discuss one by one. What is meant by producer? Producers means they are photosynthetic organisms. They are photosynthetic organisms. They have the much variation. Just now we have discussed they are going to have the much variations. Okay, so what are those variations? These plants are going to have so much amount of changes. Those changes, one is a thorn. Okay, they are going to have thorns. They are going to have the spines, and they are succulent. Means they have a lot amount of water. Okay, they in their bodies of the plants they have more amount of water, etc. So example is cactus. If you see the cactus do not have the leaves. The leaves are turned into spines. They have the juicy material inside and very slimy, that is nothing but succulent. Next, in these plants the water is stored in the stem. In the stem you will see the water is stored, and this water is used for the scarcity. Okay, during the scarcity the water can be used. For example, if there is more amount of rainfall, if the rainfall is more, what happens? The water is absorbed by the plant, and its absorbed water is used during the scarcity. Okay, what is meant by scarcity? Scarcity is nothing but less amount of water in some conditions. That is known as scarcity. In these conditions, these plants are going to use that water. Okay. Next, these lower plants are mosses, blue-green algae, lichens, etc. Lower plants are nothing but small, tiny plants, and very less amount of plants. That is known as lower plants. Lower plant means the plants which have the less in size, less microscopic in nature, and they have tiny body mass. That is known as lower plants. Like mosses you will see they look like tiny grass. They are mosses. Next, blue-green algae. It is also a type of organism, lichens, etc. These all are the producers in the desert ecosystem. Next one will be the consumers. These consumers are nothing but organisms that are going to depend upon they are going to depend on photosynthetic organisms and also other organisms. They are consumers. Hence, you can define the consumers are animals. They are going to depend on other organisms or photosynthetic organisms. They are consumers. These organisms have the xeric adaptation. What is xeric adaptation? Xeric refers to the less amount of water or no water. That is known as xeric. So what we are saying, they have xeric adaptation means they are adapted to the less amount of water condition. Okay, they are going to live in the conditions or places where there is less amount of water. That we are going to call it as a xeric adaptation. Okay, and they have the few, and they are very few when compared to the grass and forest ecosystem. If you compare the animals of the desert and animals on the land, the number of animals in the desert is very less, and the number of animals on the land is very more. It means normal. In the grassland more amount of animals, and in the forest ecosystem also more amount of animals. Why the number of animals in the desert is less? Because of one reason. That reason is the conditions are not favorable. What is those conditions? Less amount of water. The water is very less. The food is also very less. So this is the reason the amount of number of animals in that area is very less. And animals are generally insects. In those ecosystem you will see insects, reptiles, birds, etc. So these are the organisms that you can see in that region. Next, these desert animals has the morphological and physiological adaptations. Morphological means on their body they have some kind of adaptation. Like if you see the camel will have the long hair, camel will have the large amount of eyelashes, it has a wide nostrils, etc. These all are the morphological, means external characteristics of the organisms is different. Next, physiological means in their body the body function is also different. Okay, camel will have such kind of some kind of different function. The body of the elephant on the land is different, and etc. It means there is very variation, so much variations in the body functioning of these organisms. Okay, and which enables them to live and so on. So example, camel will have such kind of morphological and physiological adaptations. These morphological and physiological adaptations making the camel to live better in that forest, in the desert ecosystem. Okay, next one will be the decomposers. These decomposers are dead and organic matter. Okay, decomposers means these are the organisms that will decompose or degrade the any matter that is known as decomposers. They are going to decompose the dead organic matter. Dead organic matter means anything, whether it may be dead plant or dead animal or anything. So these decomposers are going to damage or decompose those organisms. This is the reason we are calling it as a decomposers. Here the number of decomposers are very less when compared to land and forest ecosystem. Okay, if we compare the decomposers in the land and compare the decomposers on the desert ecosystem, the number of decomposers are very less in the desert. Why? Because the same reason, the conditions are not favorable. Okay, very less favorable. So this is the reason they are less in number. Okay, next is the forest ecosystem. In the forest ecosystem, due to the poor and dead organic matter, the amount of decomposers are very less. Okay, the amount of vegetation is also less. Vegetation means photosynthetic organisms like plants, grass, etc. Okay, next, the decomposers are mostly thermophilic fungi. What is thermophilic? The word thermo refers to the heat. Okay, heat or higher temperature. So these fungi, the philic means love or interest. Okay, they will show very much interest to live in the hot conditions, that is known as thermophilic fungi. Thermophilic fungi means the fungi which show more amount of interest to live in the hot conditions is known as thermophilic fungi. And bacteria is also thermophilic. Why the bacteria is thermophilic? Why? Because this bacteria will try to live in the hot conditions, that is known as decomposers in the forest ecosystem. Okay, in the not forest ecosystem, the forest ecosystem in the desert. Next one is the forest ecosystem. Forest ecosystem, that is the activity 2. In the forest ecosystem, we can see we can do a small activity, that is divide the class into 4 groups. Divide the class into 4 groups and collect the information, the forest of the Telangana and so on. Okay, next, collect the information about the flora, means in that forest what are the different types of plants are present, collect the information about it. And next, collect the information about the fauna, means the animals, what are the different types of animals in that forest, collect the information about it, and so on. You can collect information from anything like internet, school library, etc. and prepare a table. Okay, prepare a table and you will get some kind of idea about the flora and fauna of the forest of Telangana. Okay. So next, why the forest is important? The forest is important to promote valuable economic and environmental services. Okay, it means the forest is main important resources. So forest is going to provide most amount of wood, okay, for the production of the paper, furniture, etc. So this is the reason we are calling it as a valuable economic and environmental resources. So they are categorized into based on type. They are categorized into climate, type of soil, forest, etc. Okay, so the forest, some forest will have the more age, some forest will have the less age, some forest will have the more good climate, and some forest will have different types of soils and so on. Different depending upon the different types of these categories, the forests are categorized into number of ways. Okay, so forest has different types of producers. Okay, different types of producers like trees. Okay, tree is a photosynthetic organism, grass is a photosynthetic organism, plant is a photosynthetic organism, shrubs, etc. These all are the different types of the photosynthetic organisms. Okay, they are producers, they all are the producers that are going to live in the forest. Okay, next is the consumers. Consumers means these are the organisms that are going to depend on the photosynthetic organisms like fauna. Fauna means animals. Okay, these organisms depend upon the plants and animals, etc. Okay, these consumers. Examples are lion, tiger, etc., cheetah, and so on. These all are different types of the consumers. So here we can see the consumers are different types like herbivores. Herbivores means these animals will eat only the plant products like grass, leaves, etc., and deers, etc. So these are herbivores are elephants, deers, etc. These all are the organisms that are going to eat the plant material. Okay, so next is the carnivores, also different types of carnivore consumers. These carnivores are lions, tigers, fox, etc. They are going to depend upon animals. Okay, next one is the decomposers in the forest. Includes a wide variety of microorganisms that are going to feed on the dead organic matter. So dead organic matter of the plant and animals, example flora, fauna, etc. These all are the decomposers, bacteria, fungi, etc. These are the examples. They are going to decompose the waste materials or dead organic matter, whether it may be plant dead matter or animal dead organic matter. So this is about the decomposers. Next one will be the energy flow in the ecosystem. Okay, so how the energy is going to flow in the ecosystem, that is we are going to discuss in it. So the living world depends upon the flow of energy and circulation of the materials through the ecosystem. So how, example, let us consider this is the sun. From the sun, the sunlight is taken by the plants. Okay, the plants are going to produce a food material. This food material is transferred or eaten by the herbivores. Okay, herbivores. Okay, so you can call it as a consumers. Okay, these are, you can call it as a consumers. These consumers, what they will do, show they will provide food to the next level. Okay, next level, and they will provide food to the next level and so on. Can you see the food material is a transfer from one stage to next stage, next stage to next stage, and so on. So depending upon these systems, okay, depending upon the food chain, okay, energy will be transferred from one level to another level. Okay, so this entire world is going to depend upon the flow of energy. In this way, the flow is seen. The energy will be flown in this way. Okay, this energy is required for the performance of life activities. Okay, all life activities. So here, if you see, the sun is the most important source of energy. About 57% of the energy is absorbed into the atmosphere. Into the atmosphere, 57% of energy is taken, and remaining is scattered into the space. Okay, and again in that 36% is used for the expanding on heating water. Okay, expenditure. Okay, so water is heated, and also evaporation of the water is also taken place, and land. Okay, only 2% of the light is utilized for the photosynthesis. It means out of 100%, 2% of the light is utilized for the photosynthesis. Okay, here you see the energy trapped by the plants is transferred to the ecosystem through the food chain. Okay, the food chain consists of producers, herbivores, carnivores, and also omnivores. What is producers? These are the organisms, photosynthetic organisms. Okay, herbivores means these are the consumers. Okay, consumers. Carnivores also consumers. Okay, what's the difference between herbivores and carnivores? The difference between herbivores and carnivores is only the type of food they eat. If you see herbivores, they eat only plant material. If you see the carnivores will eat only the meat material. Okay, so they are the difference between these two. Herbivores, carnivores, and also omnivores, three are consumers. Okay, the consumers are not, the omnivores are nothing but they eat both meat plus plant material, meat plus plant, or they will eat both meat material and also plant material. So this is the difference between herbivores, the carnivores and also omnivores. Okay, next, producers are green plants and photosynthetic organisms. They are going to produce some kind of food material. Next, consumers are herbivores and carnivores and omnivores. They all are the consumers. Here if you see, the carnivores are going to feed on other organisms, and how they are going to depend they feed on other organisms. If you see the cheetah or tiger, they are going to feed on the other organisms like deer or a rabbit and so on. Herbivores depend upon the plants. Okay, it means like cow, goat, sheep, etc. They are going to depend upon the plant material. Next, omnivores, they are going to depend on both plant and also animals material. Okay, so this is the difference between producers, consumers and so on. Okay, and I hope this lecture is helpful to you. If you have any doubts or questions, post it in the comment section, and so that we will answer to it. Okay, and we will discuss the next topic in the next lecture.